Chosen one, somebody powerful has been watching you. And I don't just mean God though, yes, heaven's been taking notes. I'm talking about someone with influence, with reach, with authority in this world. Someone who noticed what you did when nobody else was looking. When you chose faith over fear in that hospital waiting room. When you kept praying even though your body screamed quit. When you forgave even though the wound was still bleeding. You thought you were invisible, didn't you? You thought nobody saw the nights you paced the kitchen floor at 3 a.m. Bills stacked like gravestones, wondering how you'd survive another month on a fixed income. You thought nobody noticed when your own kids stopped calling, when your grandkids grew distant. When your voice got quieter in rooms that used to hang on your every word. You thought the world had moved on without you, labeled you too old, too slow, too out of touch. But here's what you didn't know. Every single time you chose to believe when fear told you to quit, someone influential was watching, taking notes, making plans. Listen to me, my elders, my seasoned warriors. This is 2 Timothy 1:10, breathing in real time. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. That sound mind you've been holding on to while everyone around you panicked. That wasn't weakness. That was warfare. And heaven saw it all. The doctor's report that tried to steal your hope. The financial loss that should broken you. The betrayal that could have buried you in bitterness. The loneliness that whispered you don't matter anymore. But you stood anyway. You prayed anyway. You believed anyway. You had no idea who was watching. And before we go further, thank you to every soul supporting this message through super thanks. You're not just giving. You're planting seeds into a spiritual harvest that'll reach someone on the edge of giving up. Whether you give or not, your presence here matters. Your time, your attention, it all counts in heaven's ledger. If this word is already stirring something in your spirit, go ahead and support this message however you feel led. Now listen closely. Hebrews 1:1 says faith is the evidence of things not seen. You've been walking by faith while others walked by sight. And that walk, that quiet, unglamorous, underestimated walk, somebody powerful noticed. If this already feels like I'm talking straight to your soul, type in the comments right now. I chose faith over fear. Let heaven see it. Let hell tremble at it. You thought nobody saw what it cost you to keep believing. But somebody influential has been taking notes on your endurance. And in just a few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly why they chose you over people who seemed louder, stronger, younger. So stay with me. Do you know what it feels like to be graded in the dark? To be watched when you thought you were completely alone? To discover that the moment you thought was your breakdown was actually your final exam? Chosen one, let me tell you something that's going to shift everything you thought you knew about your pain. That season when you were barely holding on. When your faith felt like a thread about to snap. When your prayers sounded more like groans than words. When you were so tired you couldn't even cry anymore. That wasn't God abandoning you. That was God evaluating you. You were being tested, and you didn't even know it. See, this is what the church doesn't tell you enough. Heaven doesn't grade you during your victories. Heaven grades you during your breakdowns. God doesn't measure your faith when the bank account is full and the medical report comes back clean. He measures it when you're standing in that hospital hallway at 2 a.m. When the doctors have run out of answers, when your knees are shaking but your lips are still whispering his name. That's the test, my elders. That's the examination. Think about Job. The man lost everything: his children, his wealth, his health, his reputation. His own wife looked at him sitting in ashes, covered in sores, and said, "Curse God and die." But Job's response, "Though he slay me, yet will I trust him." Job 19:15. That wasn't a Sunday morning confession. That was a midnight declaration when everything visible said God had turned his back. And what did heaven do? Heaven kept the footage. Heaven recorded that moment. because that moment proved Job could be trusted with restoration. You thought you were suffering in silence, but there was a security camera in the spirit realm. Every time you held your tongue at that family gathering when they disrespected you, heaven recorded it. Every time you got down on arthritic knees and prayed instead of complaining, heaven kept the footage. Every time you gave someone else hope when you had none left for yourself, angels took notes. Daniel knew this principle. Thrown into a den of lions, no way out, death staring him in the face. And what did he do? He didn't curse God. He didn't panic. He didn't compromise. He stayed faithful in the dark. And the next morning, when the king came running, Daniel was still standing. Why? Because he passed the test nobody knew he was taking. Daniel 6:22. The lions' mouths were shut not because Daniel was lucky, but because Daniel was proven. Your test looked different, didn't it? It wasn't lions. It was loneliness. It wasn't a fiery furnace. It was financial pressure that felt like it would burn you alive. It wasn't Pharaoh's army. It was your own family treating you like you don't matter anymore. But here's what you need to understand. God was watching how you handled being underestimated. He was watching how you responded when your opinion was dismissed, when your wisdom was ignored, when younger voices talked over you like you were invisible. And every time you chose grace instead of bitterness, every time you blessed instead of cursed, every time you kept praying when it seemed pointless, heaven stamped your test with a passing grade. You weren't failing quietly, my dear. You were passing noiselessly. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're in a room completely alone. The lights are off. You think nobody sees you. But there's a camera in the corner recording everything. That's what your trial was. You thought you were alone in the dark, but the invisible realm had every angle covered. 1 Peter 1:16 says your faith is being tested by fire so that it may be proved genuine. That fire wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to certify you. And this is where it gets powerful. Your reactions under pressure became your resume in the spirit. When you forgave the person who abandoned you during your hardest season, that went on your resume. When you kept tithing even though your retirement check barely covered the bills, that went on your resume. When you woke up in pain every single morning, but still found a reason to praise God, that went on your resume. You were building a portfolio of faithfulness that someone influential was about to review. Because here's the truth the enemy doesn't want you to know. You are now trustworthy in the eyes of heaven and influential people on earth. Why? Because you've been tested in the dark and you didn't break. You bent, yes. You trembled, absolutely. But you didn't break. And that distinction, that refusal to shatter under pressure, is what makes you valuable. Not your degrees. Not your resume from 30 years ago. Not your ability to keep up with technology or trends. Your value is in your proven character. Your worth is in your tested faith. If you're starting to realize that season wasn't random, that it wasn't punishment but preparation, that it wasn't abandonment but assessment, I need you to do something right now. Type in the comments, I was being tested. Say it as a confession. Say it as a revelation. Let it become real in your spirit. Because what's about to happen next will blow your mind. The crazy part is this: your enemies helped reveal your value. Every attack they launched, every lie they spread, every door they slammed in your face, it all became part of your recommendation letter. And in the next part, I'm going to show you exactly how their attacks became your endorsement. Stay with me. Chosen one, let me tell you something that's going to shift how you see every person who ever came against you. They thought they were burying you, but they were actually broadcasting you. Every whisper behind your back, every lie they spread at church, every time they rolled their eyes when you said you still believed God would come through. They thought they were building a case against you. They thought they were destroying your reputation, isolating you, making sure nobody would ever take you seriously again. But here's what they didn't know. They were running a commercial campaign for your destiny. Listen to me closely, my seasoned warriors. I'm talking to those of you who've had people, family, friends, people you broke bread with, turn your name into a curse word. She prays too much. He's too spiritual. They still think God's gonna show up at their age. They said your name with contempt, with mockery, with pity in their voices, like you were some knave fool clinging to fairy tales. But every single time your name left their lips, even in hatred, they were speaking your name into rooms you'd never walked into. They were planting seeds of curiosity in hearts that would later seek you out. They were creating a mystery around you that only God could solve. Genesis 50:20 says it plain. You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good. That's not poetry, that's strategy. That's divine warfare. That's God taking the very weapon your enemy swung at your head and turning it into the tool that carved your throne. Think about it like a courtroom. Your enemies thought they were prosecutors, stacking evidence, repeating your name over and over, making their case. Did you hear what they did? Can you believe they still have faith after everything? They're delusional. They're stubborn. They won't quit. And while they were talking, God was in the back of that courtroom smiling. Because every time they said, won't quit, he heard, can't be broken. Every time they said, still believes, he heard, unshakable. Every time they said, too spiritual, he heard, exactly what I need for the assignment I'm about to release. They were building your resume and didn't even know it. You think it's an accident that the people who tried to tear you down are the same ones who made you famous in the unseen realm. You think it's coincidence that influential people with real power, real resources, real reach started hearing your name because your enemies couldn't keep your story out of their mouths. Here's the truth they'll never tell you. Opposition is oxygen for destiny. The more they pushed you down, the more heaven highlighted your name on the list marked, trusted with influence. I'm not talking theory here. I'm talking about your real life. The coworker who sabotaged you at 50 and forced you into early retirement. And that retirement became the season you finally wrote the book. Started the ministry, mentored the young people nobody else would touch. The family member who cut you off because you changed. After you got serious with God, and that rejection cleared space for spiritual sons and daughters who actually honor you. Romans 10:20 isn't a nice verse to cross-stitch and hang on the wall. It's a war strategy. All things work together for good to those who love God. All things, not just the good things, not just the comfortable things, including betrayal, including gossip, including the people who wanted to watch you fall apart and instead got a front row seat to your resurrection. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine your enemies sitting around a table, year after year, talking about you. Can you believe they're still going, still standing, still got that light in their eyes? And every word they speak is like another brick in the altar God's building with your name on it. They think they're tearing you down, but they're actually laying the foundation for your platform. You ever notice how the people who hated you the most can't stop talking about you? That's not normal hate. That's spiritual advertising. That's hell trying to stop what heaven already announced. And the harder they try, the louder your name echoes. You're not fragile, you're forged. You've been through fires that would have cremated softer people. You've endured winters that would have frozen weaker faith. And every time you stood back up, every time you chose to believe instead of bail, you became more dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. So let me ask you something direct. If you know there were people who wanted to see you break, but you're still standing, hit that like button right now as a public declaration that God kept you. Let the algorithm know. Let heaven know. Let hell know you're not a victim, you're a victor. And share this with one person who's in that same fight right now, because they need to hear this. Your enemies didn't bury you, they advertised you, and now the influential people, both in heaven and on earth, have taken notice. Which brings me to this. What exactly were they noticing? What qualities have you been developing in the dark that are about to be revealed in the light? Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you next will make everything you've been through make perfect sense. Now let me break something down for you that most preachers won't tell you because it sounds too harsh, too direct, too real. But I'm from New York, and we don't do spiritual fairy tales here. We deal in truth. Influential people, whether they're in boardrooms, ministries, or heaven's throne room, they're not looking for people who feel faithful. They're looking for people who are faithful when feelings have left the building. You want to know what caught their attention. It wasn't your resume. It wasn't your social media following. It wasn't how loud you prayed in church or how many Bible verses you memorized. What made them stop and take notes was this: you held the line when everybody else folded. Let me explain what that actually looks like, because this is where most people miss it. First, consistency under pressure. Some of you have been showing up for decades. Showing up to pray even when your knees hurt. Showing up to serve even when nobody said thank you. Showing up to believe even when the miracle was late, years late, decades late. That's not religious routine. That's spiritual warfare in slow motion. James 1:32 says it plain: "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life." You've been standing the test while everyone around you quit after the first round. Influential eyes notice endurance. They notice the person still standing when the smoke clears. You raised kids by yourself when your spouse walked out. You stretched one social security check to feed a whole house. You kept your word even when breaking it would have been easier. That wasn't just survival, sir. That wasn't just making do, ma'am. That was spiritual steel being forged in fire. Second, self-control instead of retaliation. Here's what separated you from the crowd. When they disrespected you, you didn't match their energy. When they lied about you, you didn't spend your days defending yourself on social media. When they underestimated you, you didn't waste breath proving them wrong. You stayed quiet and let God do the talking. Proverbs 6:32 cuts deep: "Better a patient person than a warrior, one with self-control than one who takes a city." You could destroyed reputations with what you knew. You could have burned bridges with what you felt. But you didn't. And that restraint, that terrifies the enemy and impresses heaven. Influential people are watching for this because they know the truth. Anybody can throw a punch, but only the mature can hold one back. They're not looking for fighters, they're looking for generals, and generals know when not to engage. Third, integrity in the dark. This is the one that seals it. You did right when nobody was watching. You told the truth when lying would saved you money. You stayed faithful in your marriage when temptation knocked loud. You honored your commitments even when people forgot you made them. Psalm 13:4 describes you perfectly: "Who keeps an oath even when it hurts, and does not change their mind." You weren't trying to impress anybody. You were just living before an audience of one. And guess what? Influential people on earth recognize that scent. They smell authenticity from miles away because it's so rare. Fourth, calm in chows. When the family fell apart, you were the stabilizer. When the money ran out, you didn't panic, you prayed. When the diagnosis came, you didn't spiral, you stood. You became the person everyone else leaned on when the storm hit. Isaiah 26:3 promises this: "You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast, because they trust in you." That peace you carried wasn't denial. It was trust. It was faith functioning as a weapon, not a feeling. And influential people need calm warriors beside them, not chaotic spectators. Let me give you the metaphor that ties this together: the blacksmith and the fire. When raw metal gets thrown into flame, it's not being punished. It's being forged. The heat isn't cruelty, it's transformation. And when that metal comes out glowing, every blacksmith in the room recognizes tested strength. That glow is what influential eyes have been watching in you. Your loneliness wasn't abandonment, it was the fire. Your financial pressure wasn't punishment, it was the hammer. Your health battles weren't curses, they were the anvil. And now you're glowing with a strength that can't be faked, can't be taught, and can't be ignored. You're not being chosen because you look impressive on paper. You're being chosen because when hell turned up the heat, you didn't melt. You hardened into something unbreakable. Write this in the comments right now. My faith is a weapon. Say it out loud if you can. Let your own ears hear it. You're not fragile. You're forged. You're not weak, you're tested. And tested strength is what moves heaven and catches the attention of every influential force that matters. So here's what I need you to understand as we move forward. Heaven and influential people don't just notice your faith. They notice whether your faith has been tested. And you, chosen one, you passed tests most people quit before the first question. Now in the next part, I'm going to show you exactly how heaven and influential people decide you're safe to trust with bigger doors, and why your age isn't a disqualifier. It's the proof. Now here's where everything shifts, chosen one. Because what I'm about to tell you will rewrite how you see your age, your scars, and the years you thought were wasted. You've survived, that much is clear. You made it through the divorce. You made it through the diagnosis. You made it through burying people you thought would bury you. You made it through decades of disappointments that should have turned you bitter cold, empty. But they didn't. You're still here. Still believing. Still standing. But survival was never the final destination. It was the training ground. Let me paint you a picture. Two people standing at the same locked door. One is young, loud, desperate, banging on that door, screaming, demanding it open right now. The other is older, quieter, standing with keys in hand, waiting for the right moment. Who gets trusted with what's behind that door? The one making noise, or the one who's proven they can wait? Who knows how to carry weight without crumbling? You are the second one. And the influential person who's been watching you, they saw exactly that. They saw patience when the world preaches panic. They saw faithfulness when everyone else was chasing feelings. They saw endurance when others were posting their breakdowns on social media for likes. Listen to me carefully. Your age is not your disqualification. Your age is your credential. The wrinkles on your face, those are lines of wisdom carved by fire. The slowness in your step, that's not weakness, that's stability. You don't react fast anymore because you've learned not everything deserves a reaction. You don't speak as much anymore because you've learned silence has more power than noise. Younger believers have passion. You have something far more dangerous to the enemy. You have proof. You have a decades-long track record that says, I chose faith over fear, and I'm still here to tell about it. Psalm 24 declares it plainly. They will still bear fruit in old age. They will stay fresh and green. Did you hear that? Still bear fruit. Not used to. Not once upon a time. Still. Right now. In this season. At this age. You thought your productive years were behind you. You thought your best work was done. You thought God was putting you out to pasture, letting you fade quietly into the background. But that's a lie straight from hell. The enemy wants you to believe you're obsolete because he knows what God is about to release through you would shatter his plans. Here's what the world doesn't understand about the kingdom. God doesn't trust everyone with blessing. He only trusts those who've been tested. He only gives weight to those who've proven they won't buckle under pressure. He only hands influence to those who've shown they won't abuse it. You want to know why that influential person noticed you? Because you've been faithful in the little things for years. Decades. When nobody was watching, when nobody was clapping, when nobody even knew your name, you kept going. You kept praying. You kept tithing even when the bank account said no. You kept forgiving even when the wounds said don't. Luke 6:10 says it clearly. Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. You've been faithful with little for so long that heaven is now clearing the way to trust you with much. Not because you're perfect, not because you never stumbled, but because when you did stumble, you got back up. When you did fall, you didn't stay down. Let me tell you what's happening right now in the spiritual realm. There's a shifting, a redistribution. God is pulling resources, influence, and opportunity away from people who couldn't handle it and placing it into the hands of those who can. And you, yes, sitting there thinking you're too old, too tired, too late, you're being positioned as a steward of something massive. You're not just ready for blessings. That's too small, too shallow. Blessings are nice, but they're not the end game. You're being prepared to carry weight, influence that outlives you, impact that touches generations you'll never meet, legacy that echoes long after your last breath. The younger generation needs what you carry. They need your stability when theirs is shaking. They need your faith when theirs is failing. They need your testimony when their hope is fading. You're not a relic, you're a resource. You're not outdated, you're irreplaceable. This is why the attack on your life has been so relentless. The enemy knew if you ever realized your worth, if you ever understood your assignment, if you ever stepped into the fullness of what God called you to steward, the game would be over. So he whispered lies. You're too old. You missed your chance. Your time has passed. But those were desperate lies from a defeated enemy who knows his time is short. You're not behind, beloved. You're seasoned. You're the one who can hold what others would drop. You're the one who can carry what others would mishandle. You're the one God has been preparing through every test, every trial, every tear. So let me ask you directly, are you ready? Are you ready to stop seeing yourself as a survivor barely holding on and start seeing yourself as a steward handpicked by heaven? Are you ready to receive not just comfort but commissioning? Are you ready to carry weight that matters, influence that shifts atmospheres, and legacy that outlasts your lifetime? If you're willing to say, Lord, I'm ready to steward whatever you trust me with in this season, type right now. I'm ready to steward more. Let heaven see your yes. Let the enemy see his defeat. Because here's what's coming next. In the next part, I'm going to walk you into the very grave they dug for you. The pit meant to bury you, silence you, erase you, and I'm going to show you how God is turning that exact spot into your launchpad. Stay with me. Chosen one, let me tell you something that's going to shake the foundation of how you've been viewing your darkest chapter. That thing that nearly destroyed you, that wasn't your ending. That was your excavation. Heaven was digging out space for something so massive, so powerful, so undeniably anointed that it required you to be hollowed out first. You thought you were being buried, but God was building your runway. Listen to me carefully, my seasoned warriors. I know some of you are sitting there right now, and the memory is still fresh. The divorce papers after 37 years of marriage. The funeral where you buried the only person who truly knew you. The pink slip 2 years before retirement when you'd given that company everything. The phone call from your son telling you he doesn't believe anymore, doesn't want anything to do with church, doesn't want anything to do with the faith you bled to pass down. That moment when the doctor looked at you and said the word, terminal. That morning you woke up and realized you were completely alone in a house that used to burst with noise and life. That Sunday you sat in the same pew you've occupied for 40 years, looked around, and realized half the people you started with are gone and the new generation doesn't even know your name. You know what that felt like? It felt like a grave, dark, cold, final, suffocating. The enemy was standing over that hole laughing, telling you this is where your story ends. Telling you that you gave your best years to God and this is what you get. Telling you that faith doesn't pay bills, doesn't heal bodies, doesn't bring back what's lost. But here's what hell didn't understand about graves and what heaven has always known. The grave is never the end for the chosen. It's the launch pad. John chapter 1. Jesus gets word that Lazarus is sick, dying, desperate. And you know what he says? Something that made absolutely no sense to human logic. He says, "This sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, not unto death." Those 4 words should be tattooed on your spirit right now, because what looked like death in your life was actually preparation for resurrection power. Jesus waited. Let me say that again because some of you need to hear this. Jesus deliberately waited until Lazarus was 4 days dead. Not sick, not critical, not barely breathing, stone-cold dead, wrapped in burial clothes, stinking in a tomb. Why? Because resurrection doesn't just need a problem. It needs an impossibility. Your impossible became your testimony. Your grave became your pulpit. That place where they expected you to rot and disappear. That's exactly where heaven positioned you to rise in a way that nobody could deny. Nobody could explain away. Nobody could attribute to luck or coincidence. Think about it. If Lazarus had just gotten a little sick and recovered, people would said, "Oh, he has a strong immune system." But when a man who's been dead for 4 days walks out of a tomb, that's not recovery. That's resurrection. That's the kind of miracle that makes influential people stop and pay attention. And here's the part that's going to wreck you in the best way. They waited for you to collapse, but you evolved. The enemy assigned demons to watch your breakdown. Your critics, your doubters, even some of your own family members were waiting for the phone call that you finally gave up, checked out, lost your mind, lost your faith. They were waiting for permission to say, "See, I told you all that religious stuff doesn't work in the real world." But you didn't collapse. You didn't curse God and die. You didn't walk away bitter and broken. You stood in that grave and you declared, "Even here, even now, even if he doesn't rescue me the way I asked, he is still God and I will still believe." Do you understand the weight of what you just did? While you were in that darkness choosing faith over fear, heaven was recording. Angels were taking notes. And someone influential in the earthly realm was watching your endurance, your refusal to quit, your stubborn faith, and thinking, "That's the kind of person I need on my team." Because here's what influential people know that average people don't. Pressure reveals character. Anybody can praise God on a mountaintop. Anybody can have faith when the bank account is full and the body is healthy and the family is together. But who are you when everything falls apart? Who are you at 3 a.m.? When the pain is screaming and the bills are due and the loneliness is crushing and you still whisper, "I trust you." That's who influential people are looking for. Not people who've never been tested. Not people who've had it easy. They're looking for people who've been in the grave and came out smelling like resurrection. Jesus himself modeled this. His own tomb, that dark hole where they laid his beaten, bloodied, lifeless body, that place where the enemy celebrated and the disciples despaired, became the epicenter of the greatest comeback in human history. The grave couldn't hold him, and the grave can't hold you either. Hell dug a grave, heaven built a runway. And right now, at this very moment, someone influential is standing at the end of that runway watching you accelerate, watching you gain speed, watching you prepare for takeoff, and they're saying, "I want that person on my team. I want that faith in my organization. I want that endurance in my circle." If you've come out of something that should have killed your faith, I need you to do something right now. Share this video with someone younger. Don't write a long caption, just say, "If I made it, you can too," because your story is not just your survival. Your story is a ministry. Your scars are a sermon. You are no longer defined by what you survived. You are defined by who you became in the process of surviving it. The grave didn't bury you. It launched you. And what's about to happen next is going to prove that everything you endured had a purpose far bigger than you ever imagined. So what happens next, in the next part? I'm going to show you the 3 undeniable signs that you're about to be publicly honored for what you did privately. Stay with me. Now listen closely, because what I'm about to give you isn't just teaching, it's confirmation. You've been feeling something shift, haven't you? Something in the atmosphere around your life has changed, and you can't quite name it. But you sense it, like the air before a thunderstorm, like the stillness before breakthrough. Let me tell you what's happening. Heaven is repositioning you. And when heaven repositions someone, the evidence shows up in the natural realm before the full manifestation arrives. You're not imagining this. God is marking your season with signs that even your doubters will soon have to acknowledge. I'm going to give you 3 unmistakable markers, 3 signs that your private faith is about to become public honor. And I want you to pay attention, because if even one of these is happening in your life right now, you're closer than you think. Sign number 1. Strange peace in places that used to destroy you. You know what I'm talking about. That doctor's appointment that used to send you into 3 days of anxiety. Now you walk in calm. That phone call from the bill collector that used to make your hands shake. Now you answer it with steady breath. That family member who could trigger you with one sentence. Now their words slide off you like water off glass. This isn't denial. This isn't you pretending everything's fine. This is supernatural peace that makes no earthly sense. Philippians 4:7 calls it, the peace of God which surpasses all understanding. And when that peace shows up in the middle of your chose, it's not because your problems got smaller, it's because your faith got bigger. Let me tell you why this matters. Influential people recognize peace. They're drawn to it. In a world full of panic, anxiety, and emotional reactivity, somebody who can stay calm under pressure stands out. Your peace isn't just for you, it's a beacon. It's a signal flare to heaven and to earth that you've matured past your old triggers. And when maturity shows up, so does promotion. You're not the same person you were 6 months ago. Fear used to run your decisions. Now faith does. And that shift, that's the sign that your season is turning. Sign number 2, old doors closing without your effort. This one might hurt at first, but stay with me. Have you noticed how certain people just disappeared from your life? Not because you cut them off, not because of some big argument, they just drifted away. Friendships that once felt permanent suddenly feel distant. Opportunities you used to chase don't even interest you anymore. Habits you struggled to break for years just fell off without you fighting them. You thought you were losing things, but what's really happening is this. God is clearing the table. Before he sets the new feast, he removes the old scraps. Before he brings the right people, he removes the wrong ones. 1 Peter 5:6 says, "Humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time." Due time, not your time, his time, and in his time, he doesn't just open new doors, he closes the ones that would have kept you stuck. That job you got laid off from, it was blocking your destiny. That person who walked away, they couldn't carry the weight of where you're going. That investment that fell through, it would anchor you to the wrong season. Listen to me, when God is preparing to promote you publicly, he first prunes you privately. And pruning always looks like loss before it looks like growth. But you're not losing, you're being streamlined, focused, sharpened. Heaven is removing everything that would slow you down in your next assignment. Joseph didn't just wake up in Pharaoh's palace. He had to be stripped of his coat, thrown in a pit, sold into slavery, falsely accused, forgotten in prison. Every closed door was preparation for the one door that would change everything. And right now, you're in that same pattern. The doors closing behind you aren't punishment. They're confirmation that the biggest door of your life is about to swing wide open. Sign number 3, new respect from unexpected places. This is the one that'll shock you. People who used to overlook you are suddenly asking for your opinion. Younger folks who never gave you the time of day are now seeking your advice. Individuals who mocked your faith are quietly watching how you handle pressure. Even your enemies have gotten strangely quiet. You didn't campaign for this. You didn't beg for validation. You just kept choosing faith over fear when nobody was watching. And now they're all watching. Because influence doesn't announce itself, it accumulates. And your years of silent faithfulness have been building equity in the spiritual realm that's now cashing out in the natural. This is what happened to Joseph. One day he's a prisoner with no prospects. The next day, Pharaoh is putting a ring on his finger and a robe on his back. Genesis 4:4 says Pharaoh took his signet ring and placed it on Joseph's hand. That's not just promotion, that's public vindication. That's the moment when everyone who doubted you has to watch God honor you. And here's what you need to understand. The respect you're starting to receive isn't about you becoming louder or more impressive. It's about you becoming steady, faithful, unshakable. Influential people don't respect noise, they respect substance. And your faith, tested by fire and proven through storms, has substance that can't be faked. So let me ask you, which of these 3 signs are you seeing right now? Type the number in the comments, 1, 2 or 3. Don't skip this. That's not just engagement. That's you marking your season in faith. That's you declaring to heaven and hell, I see what God is doing and I'm ready for what's next. Because here's the truth that should set your soul on fire. Your faith traveled farther than your fear ever could. Every time you prayed instead of panicked, every time you trusted instead of quit, every time you stood when others fell, you were sending shockwaves into eternity. And now those shockwaves are coming back as favor, honor, and open doors. You're not waiting for your moment anymore. You're stepping into it. The influential person who's been watching, they're about to make their move. And when they do, everyone's going to ask the same question: where did you come from? And you'll know the answer. I came from the pit. I came from the prison. I came from the place where faith was all I had left. And that faith brought me here. Don't leave yet, because in this last part I'm going to pray over you, declare some things into your life, and give you one powerful action that will seal this word over your family. Chosen one, we've walked a sacred path together today, and now we've reached the moment where heaven stops whispering and starts declaring. Let me bring it all back for you. You chose faith over fear in the dark, when the diagnosis came, when the bank account emptied, when your own family turned their backs. You stood when every logical voice said sit down. And while you thought you were alone in that choice, you weren't. Heaven was recording every trembling step. Your enemies, thinking they were burying you, were actually advertising your endurance to influential eyes. Someone with authority saw what you survived and said, "That's the one I need." You're not fragile, my elder, you're forged, hammered in fires that would melted weaker souls. And now, right now, you're standing at the edge of your most dangerous season. Not dangerous because you'll fall, but dangerous because you're about to become undeniable. So hear me clearly, I'm about to speak something over your life, and I need you to receive it not with your mind, but with your spirit. Your latter years will be more impactful than your former. The world told you your best days were behind you. The enemy whispered you're too old, too tired, too irrelevant. But Joel 2:25 says, I will restore to you the years the locust has eaten. What was stolen in your youth is being returned with compounded interest in your seasoned years. The wisdom you carry, the scars you bear, the prayers you've prayed, they're not souvenirs. They're credentials, and someone influential just validated them. What you survived is now your qualification. That betrayal that nearly destroyed you. It taught you discernment that's worth more than gold. That financial collapse that should buried you. It built a faith that can't be shaken by Wall Street or Washington. That loneliness that pressed you to the edge. It drove you so deep into God's presence that now you carry an authority others can't fake. 1 Peter 5:10 promises, "After you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace will himself restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you." You've suffered. Now comes the establishing. The grave they dug is now your launchpad. Joseph's brothers threw him in a pit, but that pit was the path to the palace. David was rejected by his own father, but that rejection positioned him for a kingship. Esther was orphaned and exiled, but that exile saved a nation. Chosen one, what tried to bury you was actually planting you. And you're about to break through the soil. Now I'm going to pray over you, and I need you to stop multitasking. Close your eyes if you're able. Put your hand over your heart. Let these words sink deep. Father, I come before you on behalf of every chosen one hearing this word. You know their names. You know their battles. You know the disappointments they've carried for decades, the prayers they stopped praying because hope hurt too much. Lord, I speak healing over long-term disappointments right now. The child who walked away, the marriage that died, the dream that crumbled. Father, resurrect hope. Not foolish hope, but anchored hope. Hebrews 6:13 calls it an anchor for the soul, firm and secure. Secure their hearts again, Lord. I pray for restoration with family where it's possible. Where it's not, I pray for peace that surpasses understanding. Philippians 4:7, let that peace guard their hearts and minds. And Father, where family has failed them, raise up spiritual sons and daughters who will honor them, learn from them, and carry their mantle forward. Lord, I speak courage over every elder in this moment. Courage to step into new roles they thought were close to them. Mentoring, serving, leading, teaching. They've been sitting in the shadows, but you're calling them back to the front lines. Not because they're perfect, but because they're proven. Give them courage to say yes when you call. Give them strength to stand when you position them. And Father, I bind anxiety and regret in Jesus' name. The enemy loves to torment your seasoned warriors with what-ifs and if-onlys. But Romans 1 says, there is no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. So I declare, no more regret, no more replaying the past, no more anxiety about the future. Their steps are ordered by you, and you waste nothing. Now, chosen one, open your eyes. If you're saying to God right now, use me in this season. I choose faith over fear again. I need you to write in the comments, Lord, I'm available, don't just think it. Declare it. Let heaven see it. Let the enemy hear it. And let that influential person who's been watching know you're ready. And if you know another older believer, a friend, a church member, someone in your family who feels forgotten, invisible, cast aside, share this video with them. Don't let them sit in the lie that their time is over. Send them this word. Be the bridge between their despair and their destiny. Now, before we close, I need you to do 3 things, and I'm asking not as a marketer, but as a messenger. Hit like on this video. Not for me, but so this message reaches another chosen one who's on the edge of giving up. YouTube's algorithm will push this to someone who needs it, but only if you engage. Subscribe if you want more prophetic, faith-filled messages spoken straight to your season. No fluff. No games. Just words that cut through the noise and speak to where you actually are. Comment enter Senti feed as a sign that you're aligned with heaven's timing for your life. Let that number flood the comments section. Let it be a testimony that God's remnant is still here, still standing, still choosing faith over fear. Chosen one, let me leave you with this. You're not just surviving history. You're becoming the testimony someone influential has been praying to find. Heaven took notes on every moment you thought you were alone. The earth is catching up. The doors are opening. The vindication is coming. The latter glory is breaking through. You chose faith over fear in the darkest hour of your life. And now, right now, in this very moment, you are the moment. The world is about to see what heaven already knows. You're not finished. You're just getting started. Go in power, go in peace. Go knowing you are seen, you are chosen, and you are about to walk into the most influential chapter of your life. Amen.